Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Telescope Hangout. So just give me a couple minutes so that people can join the Hangout and just to make sure everything is working all right. Can you guys hear me? If you can, just leave a message in the chat room. So as soon as I know that this is working and people can hear me, I'll start the Hangout and probably start with a quick recap of what I want to talk about today. Cool. Awesome. So first of all, I pasted in the link to the actual Google Hangout in the chat room, and feel free to join. Like, if you want to ask questions or just hang out, like, this doesn't need to be just me. It can be a group thing. So the more the merrier. But if we're ready, I guess I'll get started. So the goal today is to talk about telescopes architecture and how it can be applied to other Meteor apps. So, I started working with Meteor like almost 3 years ago now. And I guess the difference between me and other Meteor devs is that, my first Meteor app is still my current Meteor app and like my only Meteor app. I've been working on the same app Telescope for all this time. So, I've had time to consider different approaches and kind of rethink things and try and work out like the best solution, at least currently. So, well, maybe the easiest thing to do is just share my screen to show you what I'm talking about. So it's going to do that weird effect, right? Okay, so this is the Telescope GitHub repo. And so there's a bunch of files here, but if you're a Meteor dev, what you'll notice is there is not, the usual client, server, lib, and so on directories. And the reason why is that Telescope is entirely package-based. So everything is contained inside packages. And not only that, but all these packages are published to Atmosphere. So practically speaking, if you just want to install Telescope as an end user, this is what you get. You get a Docker file, README, app.json, all of which are actually not required. App.json is just for Heroku. And then you get a .meteor directory with this packages file. And what's kind of funny and weird for people is that .meteor is hidden. It's a dot directory. So in effect, when they install Telescope, they have an empty directory, which can be a bit confusing. Where's everything? But that's how it works, and it's actually a really cool way to do things. So, well, why do it that way? There's a couple advantages. First of all, well, you can control load order using packages, and that's something that's a bit hard to do with if you just use the regular Meteor file structure. There isn't really a mechanism to do that. So that's one reason. Another reason is it really forces you to kind of organize your code in a very structured way, right? If we go back to the repo, you can see that every feature is in its own package, and with the exception of core packages, which I'll come back to later, every feature is independent. So like RSS feeds, I can take out that package and the app will still work, except without RSS feeds. But most of these packages don't have any dependencies on them. So it's a really like modular approach. And then finally, the other really, really cool thing is I can now use Meteor's package system to keep the app up to date. So, if you're running Telescope, with this kind of repo where everything is in packages, you can just do Meteor update and it will update the app. You don't need to mess with Git. You don't need to solve merge conflicts. And yeah, that's the other thing. Like, since all the code is inside packages, well, people simply can't modify it and they can't create conflicts. So for a wildly distributed app like Telescope, it's a very cool way to ensure that you don't have you don't mess with the code by mistake. Which, like, if you use something like WordPress, that can happen, even though you're not supposed to modify the core. You never know. Someone could do it, and then they upgrade WordPress and they lose their customizations. So with this architecture, only people who know what they're doing enough to use Git at least are at risk of that happening. So let me go back to the chat room, see if there are any questions about what I've covered so far. So if you have questions, you can join the Hangout or ask in the chat room, or also Crowdcast has a widget for asking questions. Okay, all good. So let's move on. So we have all these packages, and this is what the packages file looks like. And what you may notice is that it actually doesn't contain all packages. So there's a bunch of packages like, for example, Telescope posts, Telescope lib, that simply are not in there. So what's going on? Well, these packages are all contained inside core. They're all dependencies of core. And as you can see here, there's actually like 2 tiers, or maybe even 3 tiers of packages. So you have core packages, which are all inside this, and basically these are the packages that Telescope requires to work, and you shouldn't mess with them or remove them. And then you have all these optional packages, which, like I said before, can be added and removed at will. And then finally, you have your own custom packages, which might or might not be hosted on Atmosphere. There might be local packages, or it might even be like third-party plugins, like the Telescope Hero Banner package, for example. So you can have this 3-tiered system. And what's interesting is how these core packages work. So first of all, there's this really cool Hackpad document that kind of explains everything I'm going to talk about right now. So it was written in part based on Telescope's package structure, but it's very comprehensive. So I encourage you to check it out, and I'm going to paste in the link right now. So where was I? Yeah, core packages. Well, first of all, the base, the foundation of all Telescope packages is this package called Telescope lib. So as you can see here, well, this is the package that will, not only include all useful helpers and files and functions that are used by other packages, but also all the third-party Atmosphere packages that are used by the app. So in a typical Meteor app architecture, all these packages would go in your package file. But the goal of this file is to only contain Telescope packages, because Telescope is going to be used by end user who might not be that familiar with Meteor. So I don't want to give them the ability to like mess with packages, maybe remove autoform or simple schema and break things. So that's why they're all encapsulated inside this Telescope lib package. And what happens is that not only am I using them, but I'm also implying them. And that's really the key part. And imply is not as used, not often used compared to use, but it's very useful. So API.use means I need to use that package in my current package. So we're in Telescope lib. So if I do API.use, I'll need collection too. This package's feature become usable inside Telescope lib. But what imply does is it says, I want this package that I'm implying to be usable inside any other package that depends on the current package. So practically speaking, well, if I'm using AutoForm and then implying AutoForm, well, AutoForm will become usable inside any package that depends on Telescope lib. And that means that AutoForm is now usable inside Telescope core and also inside any of these packages. Since, as you'll see, Telescope core in turn implies Telescope lib. So there's this kind of transitive relationship where I'm only including these packages, once in the rootmost package in my package tree, and then it becomes they all become available to every package. Plus, they're all kept at the same version, so there's no risk of having conflicting dependencies or having to update the version numbers in multiple places. So it's a pretty convenient architecture. And of course, Meteor is smart enough to not duplicate any code, right? So even though the same code is available to every package, it's not including it once per package or anything like that. So I actually don't see any downside to doing things that way. I think it does make your life a lot easier. So that's the power of API.imply. Any questions so far? Let me paste in the link to the Hangout again. If you have any questions, just drop in and come ask them directly. So if not, let's move on. So okay, we have our Telescope lib file. And then the next step is core. So as you can see, core depends on a few packages. So lib, messages, i18n, events, settings, user, comments, and posts, which again, it both uses and implies. And this is how you're able to get all these packages, with a single package inside your packages file. So that's how you keep everything together and make sure that Telescope has what it needs to run. And unlike the other packages from before, like newsletter, notification pages, which are all kind of plug and play and modular, you can remove them, you can add them. Well, the core packages do have dependencies, which you can see right here. So lib doesn't have any dependency because it's at the top of the tree, and then messages and i18n depend only on lib. They're one level down. Events depends on lib and i18n, and so on, up to the posts package, which depends on all these. So that's kind of a neat way to keep track of what's depending on what, because sometimes that can cause trouble. It's good to keep track of that. And I'm actually doing the same thing here. For example, the daily package depends on single day, so that's what that means, and that helps me remember which dependencies I have. So yeah, that's about it for Telescope's package-based organization and file structure. So one of my goals is to actually take more things out from the core and move it, in that second category, second tier of optional packages. So for example, comments right now are in core because the posts packages depends on comments. But in the future, I would love to have comments be optional, and because not every single app will need comments. Same with users. Right now, users is pretty central, but what if you want to add Telescope to a Meteor app that already has this whole like user management layer? So it'd be great to have a way to kind of take that out as well, maybe split users into users and account, and so on. So that may happen in the future. But at least for now, I think we already have a pretty good structure. So let me go back to the Hangout and maybe take some questions about this, about what we've covered so far. To be honest, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about today, and I expected I would get some questions. So if there are no questions, I'm not sure what to talk about next. I did remember one question from Crater, but Crater seems down right now. So I'm counting on you guys. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, yeah, I might just stop it here and keep it short, so this way people, if people want to refer to this later on, they just can watch a quick video, don't have to watch through a long time of questions. Plus, I don't really have anything else to say. Oh, okay, one question. What if you ran a Meteor app with only the Telescope Core package added? Is there any default UI with Core? So yes, you can do that. There is a default UI because it's, yeah, Core is the package that contains most templates. So all the common stuff, errors, forms, menus, admin, that's all in Core. So you would get like a normal Telescope app. Yeah, so there are other questions. Let me check them out. Oh, cool. We have Derek online. Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, do you have a question?
Well, yeah, I do have a question.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Well, this is my first time seeing package-based development. Sorry, it's kind of laggy, so I'm like hearing you in two different places.
Okay, well, no problem.
So for this package-based development, where do you keep your UI stuff? Is that all in the package?
Yeah, so the UI stuff, basically the template, is all in the relevant package. So if there's UI for managing pages, it's going to be in the page package. If it's for posts, it's going to be in the post package. And then there's like an additional layer of like common stuff like error messages and so on. That's in Core. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that was the question I had. I was just really interested in how that was being put together.
Yeah, cool. Good question. Like in the future, maybe, because sometimes people want to override the UI layer. You want to use your own templates. So you can do that. You can replace any templates. There's a syntax for that. What you can't, you'll still need to load the code for the old templates. Like I haven't found a way to like completely split out the UI layer yet. Maybe in the future Meteor will make that easier. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's how it works for now.
Thanks a lot for all this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, let me take a couple other questions. I didn't see them earlier. Sorry. So David asks, I'm curious if you would recommend this approach of building everything in packages for apps which won't be widely distributed and customized by multiple people. Are there advantages that would be good for closed-sourced apps? Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So it's important to understand that Telescope as an open source app has very different like requirements and constraints than other apps. But I think even for traditional closed source apps, it can be useful. Mainly for the controlling load order. That's a good, that's a good enough reason. I think it makes testing easier. It makes keeping separation of concerns and like keeping your app modular easier. And you only have to publish those packages to Atmosphere, right? They can be local packages, so that works just fine. Now, the only downside is that when you're using packages, you do need to add in every single file. You can't just put files in your packages and then Meteor will pick them up automatically like it does with regular Meteor files. You do need to specify everything, every CSS, image, JavaScript, HTML file. So that can be a bummer. That's a little bit more work, but you get used to it. And it can even be good in a way because it makes it easier to see at a glance what's inside a package and kind of keep track of things. So I think it's valid, and you can even combine both approaches. So, for example, here's the, oh, I need to share my screen, sorry. Otherwise, you guys can't see anything. Yeah, so here's a Telescope custom project. And you can see it has all of the Telescope packages, but it also has the client and lib directories. So the client directories contains a few custom templates. Lib contains some customization code, and that works great. Like Telescope loads its usual packages, and then it loads the normal code that kind of overrides a few aspects of the app. And you can do the same in your own app. It's like you could have local packages and then an additional layer of code in your usual client server lib directories, if that makes sense for you. So yeah, I encourage people to play with this and kind of find the best solution. There's this question about subscriptions, but I actually won't answer that today because I would rather keep this focused on architecture, just to make it easier for other people to reference the video. But I did talk about that at length, like in other Hangouts, also on the Discover Meteor blog. So we can talk about it later. How would you start creating a new app with an all package approach? For example, say a to-do app or a calendar app. How do you distinguish what goes in core and what goes out? Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the app. Like my main guiding principle would be to try and make and have as little dependencies as you can. So make as much of your app as possible really modular. So if you're building a calendar app and you have, let's say, notifications, so try to not include that in core. Try to make that a separate package, and try to have core really be like the minimum skeleton that you need to kind of run things. Kind of your MVP. If we're talking startup, like or not even that, just like a skeleton, like what do you call it? Yeah, a scaffolding. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for of your app. And then maybe split each collection, each model into its own package, split each feature into its own package, and try to keep that modular architecture. Cool. So I hope this was useful. I want to do more of these, which is why I'm keeping this short. I want to like kind of tackle a different topic each week. And yeah, I mean, hopefully this becomes a way, not only for me to explain Telescope, but also for other developers to share how they deal with these issues in their own apps. And we can all learn together. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.